Hey, everybody, welcome back. My name is Dean. Nice to see you. Good to be here. Always good to be on this side of the dirt, if you will. That's what happens when you're middle-aged. You're like, nice to be here. Anyway, good to see everybody today. It is Wednesday. Hard to believe we're like halfway through the week, hump day. Really excited for today's show, too, because we're not doing like topical things. We're not doing a series of interesting stories. We've got a couple of guys on the show. Ryan's in town, so we've got him. He's going to be here for this program. And I got a phone call, or actually maybe it was a DM a few days ago, and it was from someone who everybody knows from Kenny versus Spenny, Spencer Rice. And Spenny's like, "Hey, have you ever watched this documentary called Q, Into the Storm?" And I'm like, "Yes, as a matter of fact, I have." And he's like, "I'm talking with the guy who invented 8chan." And if you know anything about Q, and if you know anything about 8chan, or you know if you've seen this documentary Q, Into the Storm, which if you're interested in the craziest parts of this fucking pandemic and where we are now, this is like one of the hottest things to talk about. And I'm fascinated by fucking live action role playing weasels as well. So this whole thing kind of blew me away when Spenny got in touch with him. And he's like, "Hey, you want to talk to the guy that invented 8chan and he knows the origins of Q?" Because it's kind of a big deal. And if you know anything about Spenny, you follow him at Spenny on Twitter or wherever you want to follow him, including Instagram. He's way into this shit. Like he's obviously an actor, musician, savior to some, but he's also, if you follow him, he's also like super deep into trying to figure out these like cultural divisions and where Q came from and the January 6th hearing, which are huge. So we're really excited to have everybody part of the program today. Please welcome to the show Ryan, and not just Ryan, Spenny, and not just Spenny, but the inventor of 8chan and a fellow that needs no introduction. Please welcome Mr. Fredrick, Brennan, ladies and gentlemen. Nice to see everybody.
Welcome to the show.
And the cool part is that Fred and I are both vapors. Nice to have two vapors on the show today. Huh? Isn't that
I used to have the vapors.
What do you mean?
It's an old. You never heard of women with the vapors?
No, never heard of that. What is it?
It's one of the reasons why my comedic career has not skyrocketed. Doesn't matter. We'll talk about it later.
Well, listen, dude, I'm really happy to have you here. Thanks so much for being part of the show, and Frederick, thanks for being part of the show as well. How did you guys get in touch with these guys, Spenny? Like, take me through the genesis of how you got to know Fred, because it's kind of a fucking weird story, is it not?
I'm not really. Well, yeah, I guess it is, but I'm a documentary freak. I love documentaries, and there's tons of them all over. So I don't know how Q, Into the Storm is something that I missed, given my, as you said in the introduction, my interest in politics, but I hadn't seen it, so I watched it in about one day. I think there was 4 or 5 episodes, and that's how I'd never heard of Fred. I didn't know anything about him. I knew a little bit about Q, and I knew nothing about 8chan, which became 4chan, which is now 4Coon, I think it's called. Wow. This is way out of my sophistication in terms of social media. But for some reason, I decided I would reach out to Fred, because I thought in the documentary series, he did what I think the world needs to do, which is own and take responsibility for what you do and say. And to me, that was a hero. So I reached out to him saying I enjoyed the film, and he got back to me. And then, as I told you, Dean, I wasn't sure it was really him, because his picture wasn't on it, but I got excited anyways. And we started talking, and I'm looking at his thing, and I think because I can't understand one of his posts, it might be him, right? Because I don't know anything about this world. So it seems like a foreign language to me. Anyways, it turned out that he had watched Kenny versus Spenny and liked it, I guess. And here he is, the man, the myth, the legend.
There he is, Freddie Brennan, software developer, all-around super smart dude. Your history's incredible. Your story's incredible. If you know anything about you, Fred, were you a big Kenny versus Spenny fan? Is that like, were you shocked when Spenny reached out to you? Because I got to tell you, I was a fan too, and I was shocked when he reached out to me.
Yeah, I was really surprised because I knew who he was. Obviously, I knew the show Kenny versus Spenny. Obviously, if I was allowed to go on 4chan before the age of 12, right? My, father was not the greatest, did not give a shit what I did. So obviously I was allowed to watch Spenny versus Spenny too. So it was. In the intro, it was like, got to call CPS. Well, CPS was eventually called. I did spend a few years in foster care, but anyway.
Oh shit. Let's get right into the really sad shit right off the top. Eh?
Great
Ready?
joke, Spencer.
Hey, before we get into the heavy shit, Fred, you've got a Corey Feldman look going with the long hair. It's a bit.
It's just that I haven't been to the barber. That's it. I've been so busy because, stuff has happened after that documentary. The documentary's kind of dated, actually, because a lot of other stuff has happened. After they went to the Capitol, like dumbasses. Jim Watkins is there in the Capitol with the documentary crew following him. I thought that was funny because I wasn't given any advance watch of the documentary. I saw it in public with everybody else. I wasn't given I had no royalties, nothing. I just did it because it was the right thing to do. It needed to be out there. The first time I met with the filmmaker, Colin Holback, I wasn't sure that his documentary was really going anywhere. I wasn't sure that he was even going to be able to sell it. But, as I knew that he had more and more footage, and as I knew that he was the only guy that had ever convinced the Watkinses to film with him, I knew it was important that I keep filming with him. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Enter the Storm it's kind of how you guys hooked up, right? Is Q Into the Storm? If you haven't seen it, it's an HBO special docuseries. If you have seen it, it is fucking unbelievable. It's like, there's so many people that walk around in ignorance and go like, what is Q? What is 8chan? What is 8kun? What is 4chan? And the fascinating part of the story is it ties everything together. And you're literally at the center of it, Fred. Like, that's why Spenny came to talk to you about it, because he's like, if I'm not mistaken, that's kind of what you said to me, Spenny, because it was funny. You're like, hey, you want to interview this guy? And I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. Do I ever want to interview that guy? Like, I've seen Fredrick on specials. I've seen Fred on different interviews. He's been on the run in Manila. He's been on the run for the United States. He's been able to settle his affairs, go back to the United States, and literally advocate against his entire life's work, right? So it's such a fascinating story. But, like, where did you start in terms of your interest with this, Spenny? Like, how did you get... what was it that kind of piqued your interest? And then we'll kind of get into what the documentary is all about, and the Watkins, father-son duo who've legitimately paralyzed a whole bunch of fucking losers across this country.
Yeah. Well, I think you just said it. For me, it's trying to understand how things have got to where they are right now. Because I know social media in general is playing a huge part in it, and it's not a good part because of the easiness to spread lies and disinformation. But it always puzzled me, the psychological aspects of it, the lack of ethics and transparency and honesty, and the sort of tribal nature of what we're going through right now, where facts don't seem to matter. You're just either on Team Trump or the other guys. And so Q obviously is, for those of you who don't know what QAnon is, it was a mysterious person who was supposed to be high up in the Trump administration, was posting these things that people were believing and buying. I mean, some of it was completely crazy, like JFK Jr. still alive and was friends with Donald Trump, and people would go to see him, I don't know, rise from the dead. I mean, it was completely crazy. So the idea that the film and the series did was to sort of look really closely at the origins of it, what Q was saying. It didn't get into as much as why people are believing this, which I think is an interesting thing, and I would love to hear Fred talk about that, actually, because it's so crazy. So I watched the movie, and as I said earlier, Fred seemed heroic to me in being honest about the results of this 8chan and the kind of and then this free speech thing. I don't want to talk. I want Fred to talk. So maybe Fred, you can talk about when you were into 8chan at the beginning, and you were obviously a proponent of free speech and the free speech that was going on there. Talk about that, and then obviously what happened. But I'm curious to what you liked about 8chan.
Yeah, I can start it there. So obviously, I'm not against free speech. I don't consider myself as being against free speech. I people try to paint me that way, but I mostly am against bad faith administration of large social media sites. And I consider, image board websites are just another kind of social media site. They're a pretty, rare one. They're a pretty weird one. But 4chan, at the end of the day, its business model is exactly the same as Facebook, Reddit. It's getting the users to stay on the website for longer and look at ads. It's just that the way that the site is set up is very different. But the way that it makes money is the same. Oh, and like Twitter has Twitter, oh God, I don't know what it's called, Twitter Blue or Twitter Plus, something that is a subscription service.
Yeah, Twitter Blue. Yeah.
Yeah, 4chan has that too. It's called 4chan Pass, right? So, and they've had it for years. So, it's the documentary is on. I saw when we were people in chat. It's on HBO Max. But anyway, so I start this site, but I had a very, I guess you could say, rough life. I didn't have the money to keep it going, and I never viewed it as. I viewed it as not really a company, but a project, an open source project, a software project that would have an end date. Mm-hmm. So, when the Watkins family, who are these crazy two guys, basically his father and son duo, I didn't know this at the time, but they had stolen actually the largest Japanese text board just a few months before they took over 8chan. So, in February of 2014, they took over QChannel, the Japanese text board, and then I guess they had their sights on more acquisitions, but basically illegitimate acquisitions through their power over a domain registrar. So they take over QChannel, and then, obviously they have their sights on 8chan, and because I'm viewing it as like a software thing, I'm fine with that. I see it as a way to continue things, and because I don't know that they stole QChannel, which is the main reason that I fight them. Everybody thinks it's about Q, but it's actually just because they are crooks. They steal constantly. I don't think that people that operate in bad faith should have the power that they have. I think that the power that they have is really large. And for example, 4chan, right? We don't see the kinds of mass shootings that were happening on 8chan in 2019 on there. We don't see, they kicked Q off. That's why Q went to, Jim's shitty website. Because they kicked Q off because there was a genuine legal question as to whether Q is even legal. As to whether what Q does is legal. That is, lying to people and pretending to be a federal agent. The only question that I think really remains open is, are our laws so badly written that because Q doesn't directly take, that is whoever's posting is Q, doesn't directly take money from people, that it's not impersonation of a federal agent, and that is why Q wanted to remain anonymous. So the Watkinses could say, well, we're not Q, that's why they can't be Q, because that would basically make it illegal because they take donations while pretending to be a federal agent. So yeah, had I been 8chan's admin, I would have banned Q just like 4chan did. So that's why I fight them so hard, because they love the power that they have, and they like using it to support fascist movements, obviously.
Okay, so two things. First of all, just a quick technical thing. I don't know if you might have a pillow that is in front of your camera or in front of your microphone, but it's sort of muffled. I didn't get some of that, but I got a little bit of it. My understanding from what you just said is that effectively Q is a remnant from 8chan, and 8chan obviously was your. And I lied in the promo, not on purpose. So I'm like, the guy who invented 4chan and 8chan is going to be on Fred Brennan. Yeah. You invented 8chan, right? Yeah. That was your baby. Q originally started on 4chan, and they got booted off of 4chan. They all migrated over to 8chan. And when was that? That was in 2017, 2016?
18.
2018?
I'd have to be sure, but yeah, 2018, January, yeah.
Okay, so and the Watkins brothers, the Watkins family, you're talking about Jim Watkins, who, by the way, is a pig farmer by trade, and his son Ron Watkins, who was the son of a pig farmer by trade. Both of these guys are guys who stole 8chan from underneath you and have since been the proprietors of or the arbiters of whatever and whoever Q is and whoever these Q drops are, correct?
Yeah, the easiest way to think about it is that they are like, for the Q religion, they are the Roman Catholic Church. They put the imprimatur on every Q drop. They say, this is a Q drop, this is not a Q drop, right? So their imprimatur, if you could call it that, is the most powerful thing in Q. Now, in the last month, that's kind of changed, but I could talk about that if you...
Please.
Yeah, so things have happened since the documentary, obviously. In the beginning, you wanted to know why people believe in this, and in the public, it's often believed that conspiracy theorists don't think, but they do think. It's just that they have very different first premises. So the first premises of Q were that, okay, Donald Trump promised us that there was going to be somebody in the federal government that would take down Hillary, that there was a plan to lock her up. He promised us that again and again and again. So we have to wait and see who that's going to be. So it's like they were primed for somebody like Q. Like they were waiting for this to happen. And, you know, a whole bunch of trolls on different websites were trying to convince them, basically, these very online Trump supporters, that they were this person that was going to lock her up. That is what they wanted. They eventually settled on the idea that it was the person that was posting on 4chan as Q Clearance Patriot, which we don't know who the original 4chan Q was. And because the government has fucked things up so bad, I don't think we'll ever know. Because they, you know, ISPs do not keep that data, even in countries with data retention, which the United States does not have. But even in countries with data retention, they don't keep it for longer than, I guess 30 days. In the most oppressive governments, sometimes it's a year. But even then, this is so long ago that there is no way that data is still there, because that data is very valuable. If it were to be hacked, you wouldn't just figure out who Q is. You would figure out, you know, everybody who's cheating on everybody, everybody who's looking at weird porn. Like, you'd have all this blackmail shit. So that's why ISPs throw that away, and that's why they'll never know, you know, who the original 4chan Q was. But because 4chan did not want Q there, eventually they had to move to 8chan, and this gave the Watkinses this tremendous opportunity, which I knew they were extremely unethical and would take, because it's an anonymous website, and you have, if you're the administrator, the complete power over which trip code appears on which post, and so you can assign any trip code to any post. And the original Q, I personally believe, I speculate, that it was Paul Ferber, this South African guy who appears in the documentary. It just makes sense, because he went on to start another thing like Q after Q was stolen from him by Ron, called, and this is true, this is not even a joke, Big QAnon. I'm not kidding. Do you know what that appears in academic papers? It's true. Sometimes they like to shorten it to BD-anon, you know, to not like...
Yeah. Big QAnon. It's funny too, because I love the names for some of these sites, and you can tell how serious QAnon is when the guy who apparently started it, you know, as a sequel to QAnon, he's like, you know what, Big QAnon. That's the one for me. That's where I'm going next. That's the next evolution.
It has to be Kenny Hotz, actually.
But it's a wild story, because, you know, you not even you, who started 8chan, which is where Q has lived, which, by the way, and 8chan is now officially off of the internet as of yesterday, because Jim Watkins appeared during the January 6th hearing, and after he gave his testimony, I've actually got a clip of him. And by the way, Jim doesn't look great. Do you mind if I play a quick clip from my from?
Oh, go ahead. I've seen it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me play this clip. This literally just happened. Like, we're talking about 8chan, we're talking about Q. Q's got nowhere to post because 8chan is off, and basically every Watkins internet property is toast right now, by the way. I don't even know if anybody knew that, but that literally just happened yesterday after the January 6th hearing, because his testimony was revealed that he basically said, yeah, we started that. It all originated on 8chan. Totally started it on 8chan, which I don't even know if that was good or bad that he admitted it, but we'll get to that in just a second. Here's the clip. Watch this.
An 8kun update?
Yes, please do.
Okay, well, seems that 8kun crashed after Jaime Raskin, the communist wannabe dictator in Maryland, said that I went to Washington, D.C., which I did, and he had like 2 seconds of me he could actually use. Everything else he couldn't because I didn't answer the questions the way they wanted me to. I didn't capitulate to the woke line. So then everything that I have anything to do with seemed to crash. Okay? So that there was no way for me to go out and talk to anybody. That's not a good thing. So Vanwa.tech is the network that we use to broadcast out from our command post to you, and the whole network seemed to go offline at the same time, and that affected a lot of people, and sites are coming up site by site, and he has bigger sites than our site on there, by the way, and he seems to have brought them up before his own stuff even. So eventually we'll come back up. For how long, I don't know, but it's keeping everybody down right now. SSL certificates, lack of bandwidth are big problems. It's a unfortunate situation to be in right now, but we're not permanently down. We'll come back up. What I need you to do is keep your memory on before.
Yeah, dude, so he's so fucked. It's hard to even believe it. Like, just even the way he talks and how he acts and stuff like that.
Saying isn't true. I personally believe that he shut down the server on his own because right now he has a big problem in Q. Because just last week, I was able to prove for the first time in technical means with just a technical description that anyone with computer science experience can understand, prove 100% that Jim Watkins posted his Q in the last week of June 2022. He did it. It's sure. It's sure that he did. He actually made 3 different operational security errors. I don't need to go into all the tech stuff unless you want me to. But
yeah, please, dude. Yeah, explain it to us because this is what everybody's trying to figure out. Like this last couple of weeks with the J6 stuff, to Spenny's point, has been so fucking eye-opening, and being able to then connect the minutia, like the little pieces and the dots, back to the individuals who have literally brainwashed, like, so many people in not just your country, but this country and around the world, and caused damage to people. Like, I've got a family member, a first-person family member, who's literally filling up a Winnebago with dry fruit right now because she believes in this shit. So, like, I want to know all of it.
Okay, sure. So, essentially what happened last week was the Bitcoin site had not seen, and that's what they renamed Bitcoin to, by the way, after it got kicked off the internet, because basically they had no choice. Nobody was ever going to work with 8kun again, and so they had to, if they ever wanted to get back online, so they called it 8kun. But basically, last year, 2 weeks ago now, last week of June, they decided that because there was this account on the Trump-run social media site called Truth Social, which is this very cringe website. It's this, like, social media
Truth Social? Yeah.
Yeah. But because Q people, they have these different first premises, and one of them is that Q will never have what's called an outside communication. So that means that Q will always communicate to the faithful through either Donald Trump or through the 8kun website. And because Truth Social, way back in the day, nobody knew that Trump was going to start a social media site, the Q people were starting to accept over time that Truth Social was the new place where Q was. And so the Watkinses were losing their power, basically. They were losing their imprimatur. You could think of it kind of like, the Lutheran Church, is now deciding which books of the Bible are real. And they're even printing new ones. Like, this is not good for them. So they decided that they have to start posting again. But because Ronald Watkins started this shambolic, ridiculous political campaign to become a congressman in the state of Arizona, he was too scared to help his daddy post his Q. And so his dad needed to figure out how to post his Q again, like on his own. And so I think that what he did was he got this other guy that works with him, Matthew Howard Chapman. He uses the name Baby Fist online. This is the only guy around him that has any technical experience, but not enough to not look it up. So they get this guy, and then they try to post his Q. But they do a few mistakes. First of all, we were able to prove that the posting over Tor was down for an entire year. And then as soon as they turn it back on, within 3 hours, Q posts.
Yeah.
Very unlikely to happen by chance. If you believe that Q is third party, the only way that could happen is every day, every hour, Q is trying to post, every 3 hours, I guess, in some secret government bunker. Like, this is what you have to believe. And finally, when Jim, I guess, stops jerking himself off after a year, turns the server back on, boop, then Q's able to post. Well, that's absurd even to people that believe in Q. Like, they'd rather believe that Q is on Truth Social than believe that nonsense. And so that's one technical proof. The other technical proof is that they made a mistake when they decided to post as Q. They did what was called a salt rotation. So all that means is that all of the trick codes on the website changed. And there is no way to get the old trick codes back. It's technically impossible. It would be like being able to spend a Bitcoin that's not yours. Like, it's that level of technical breakage for that to happen. And so they were Q somehow was able to post with his old trick code, even though all of the other trick codes with every other password were confirmed to have changed. And, technically, that is not possible. It's a hash thing, it's a cryptography thing, it can't happen. And the hash that is in use is secure hash algorithm 1, which is very secure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so anyway, not to get too into the weeds, but you want it to be put there. So yeah, that we know for sure that he posted his Q in the last week of June 2022. We're speculating as to why, but we know that he did it, or somebody with access to him and permission from him.
Okay. So let's then back that up. If Jim Watkins is Q and he was the last guy to post it, and you believe 8kun is down and every Jim Watkins site is down because
I checked. It's not down right now. I checked.
It's not down?
He's lying. No, he's lying because he wants people to think that he's under attack from the government. See?
Oh.
He wants his believers. So this is the thing that he does, because right now the Q people they're splintering. They're believing the Truth Social one. They're believing their influencers. They're believing this. They're believing that. He's trying to get them back. And so I believe literally that he just unplugged his own server so that he could say to them, because he did it once already before he claimed to be under attack. Like the January 6th thing. Like, he was already doing this.
If only Jim could use his douchebaggery for good instead of evil. Think about that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I just find it funny that a boomer on the internet is what's going to bring down Q. Like, that's what's going to ruin Q.
Almost
is
the
a
United
boomer.
States, a pig farmer from somewhere in Nebraska who has zero understanding of how the internet works. Like, his first, I learned this today. Jim Watkins' foray into this was an Asian bikini babe site. Like, that was originally how he started in this business of thing. And so if you go from like a wannabe who's got a terrible job pig farming, has to shower 4 times a day, hates his life, to a guy who literally walks into this bikini babe site, he games the algorithm, manages to make a couple bucks, and then he meets a guy like Fredrick, and he's like, dude, we can take over the world, right? Like, we can do all these different things. So you go to Manila, you start working with him and 8chan. Very questionable shit on that site, by the way. I have never been on 8chan. I have never been on 4chan. That's known as the dark web in this house. We just don't go on it. No offense.
The dark web, but yes, I understand your point.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, listen, I don't want, like, if someone said to me, hey, have you been on 8chan? The answer is absolutely not, because just in case anybody's fucking listening. But
Smart.
yeah, dude, and you created it, and you're the guy who's like leading the charge against it. But take me through real quick, because this is what I want to understand. When did Q start? Like, when did it start to take shape, and how did it go from live action role play, which you've seen Into the Storm, like the Watkins family and a few other people have managed to literally turn this into choose your own adventure for emotionally and mentally detached religious weirdos. Like, how did it take hold? Like, what was the impetus? Was it government agencies and political bad actors that were able to use this comport it into something and then spit it back out as like a threat to people's lives? Like, when did Q start to become Q? And who is, other than the Watkins people, who is it that started this push to turn it into this behemoth of idiocy, which is now slowly starting to splinter? Because that's my interest. Like, who the fuck, when the fuck, how the fuck? You know what I mean?
I try not to speculate too much, but I don't mind speculating a little.
Thanks, bud.
I personally believe that the impetus of Q is in, as I said, the fact that Donald Trump was this candidate that was very disconnected from reality and was making promises that, it's not like he's saying stuff like, read my lips, no new taxes. Like, those are normal political promises. But the political promises he was making was, I am going to throw Hillary Clinton in jail after a military tribunal, I'm not going to accept the results of the election if I lose. Like, things like that. It was fascist stuff. It wasn't like, I won't raise your taxes or healthcare for all. Like, it wasn't the normal politician lies. And because he had so many supporters, I do blame him and his team for creating the environment where conspiracy theories that were not necessarily totally under their control, although I believe that they were able to take a lot of that control back, could start. And I think even if they were blindsided at first, which is perhaps not even true, even if they were, that by 2017, 2018, 2019, as things were rolling, they started to get and understand how they could use Q to their benefit. And they understood, okay, these people are nuts, but they love us. They're fringe, and there isn't really a Q. But if we tell them that, they might not love us as much anymore. So let's not say that. Don't say there's no Q. Pretend that there is a Q. And that's why you have, that post with Scavino, or that Scavino posted, the Trump social media manager, of him playing the violin, Basically, that was a signal to the Q people, like the show is about to begin, or the storm's about to begin, or something, because, and they would keep referencing that one-off comment that Trump made because they knew that it was important in Q, that it could be the calm before the storm. I think that is more of the impetus, and I can't tell you anything that I have facts for, and I don't have proof that Roger Stone is involved. He could be. I don't have proof that General Flynn is involved. He could be. I just don't have proof of that shit. And that's why I'm kind of glad that the January 6th committee at least is looking into Mr. Watkins. And I'm sure that even though he was saying on that live stream that he's a genius and he didn't give them anything, I'm sure he fucked up multiple times and gave them a lot. So they're just not playing all that,
He's one of those dudes. It's like he walks out of the room after it's all done. He gives his testimony. He's like, I took him to the cleaners. You guys don't even know how great I am. But meanwhile, in the actual hearing, he's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't think it'd get this out of hand. I'll do whatever you want. I swear to God, just don't send me back to Manila or put me in jail. Swear to God, please help me.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have a few questions that aren't really related to. No, keep me on with it because I want everybody to weigh in. Ryan, Dean. The first thing is freedom of speech, which is something I've deeply believed in. But when you look at what's happening and the advent of social media, is full-on free speech, and I don't know the answer, I'm genuinely asking, the way to go in this climate?
Well, I think that, as has been seen on Twitter, that there are ways to give people quite a lot of rope with which to hang themselves. I mean, remember during COVID, with some of the crazy things that people would say on Twitter? Remember that lady that was like, children are no longer smiling at me due to these masks. The COVID masks are making it so that children no longer know to smile. Remember her?
No, but she sounds like a lunatic.
Oh, yeah, but she was allowed to put that on Twitter. So I think that there is a high degree of free speech that can be allowed. It's just, you have to believe, and this is why Elon Musk, when he wanted to take over Twitter, was so controversial, because people have to think that your motives for operating the website are good, and that you're going to be politically neutral, and that you're not going to favor something like Q that you know is a lie, that you're not going to lie to people about it like the Watkinses do, because they know that Q isn't real. They know that there is no Q. They know that they are posting with Q. But yet they still tell all of their followers, Q's totes real, guys. Like, it's going to happen any day now. They're all going to jail, all the Democrats. Just keep the faith and keep buying 18 honey, which is a ridiculous thing to say.
So you're not really. Well, what do you think, Dean? Like, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but is there? How can you stop or deal with disinformation and out and out lying that will take people in a direction that is antithetical to democracy, freedom, decency, health, all these things?
Yeah, I used to be a huge proponent of free speech. I think when we're younger, we're dumber. I think we're more ignorant. Like, if you read anything about Fred, or if you know anything about Spenny, I think we all have that same kind of meter, right? Like that, our meter was full. We got to a certain age. We're like, it's not that fun, being able to say and do anything, and hurting people isn't that great. And I don't want to be looking over my shoulder all the time. And having people hate you kind of sucks, right, Fred?
Yeah, I'd even go farther and say that, if you don't have the experience, which nobody does at age 18, they think they do. Everyone thinks they do. I thought I did. I thought I knew what I was doing, but you don't have the experience, and, you don't even have necessarily the education. I've never even been to university. Like, I know how to program computers, but that's a trade. It's not really like something that you're taught. But
no, but when you're young and dumb and full of business, right? You're like, yeah, we should be able to say what we want, do what we want, to be able to generate revenue, generate income.
Right.
And for a long time, I was a huge fan of that, like the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom to say what you want as long as it's not hurtful. And I used to think even if it was hurtful, people should have the ability to not expose themselves to it. I was on radio for a long time, and what my answer to people was like, listen, if you don't like it, there's literally like 100 other signals. You can just turn the dial. So you're like, it's up to you. It should be up to you.
What Jim would say, the idea that, if we don't do it, somebody else will, so we should make the money from it. That was an argument that I believed for like a year or so, like it made sense.
Yeah, but what changed for you? Was it like the cops coming after you in Manila? What was it?
This stuff happened over many years. I mean, I resigned as 8chan's admin April 2016. Trump wasn't even president yet.
Yeah.
And I resigned from Watkins' company. It would be October 2018. So this stuff happened over many years, and I wasn't. When I resigned as 8chan's admin, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm in trouble with the law in any country. Yeah. I just did it for practical reasons. That this project has basically come to its conclusion. I know now that this will not be not only it won't be a success, but it's not good for people. But it's not good for the internet. It's not good for anyone, and so that is why I resigned.
I just want to say that as an 18-year-old, I'm very offended by a lot of the things that you guys are saying.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's that arrested emotional development that you get when you're at that age, and you're like, you just carry on with that without thinking about anybody else in your scope. It's a tunnel vision that I just want to win. I want to win, right?
Your brain is not totally developed until 25, and Watkins definitely takes advantage of that. He always has young people. Like, it's weird. Like, young men and young women around him, that's what he wants. He wants people that he can manipulate, that don't have life experience, that don't know that this is not normal, that you are staying up all day and all night, that the boss is offering you amphetamines to keep you going. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know that that's not normal. Just do fine.
Yeah, but here back to Spenny's question, which is like, did you ever get to a point where you'd think like maybe total freedom of speech isn't a great idea? The last 2 years have borne that out, have they not? Like, not just freedom of speech, but the freedom of hate speech. Like, I somehow think that we've been able to kind of corral all that stuff and put it in the same box, but it's not the same, Spenny. It's not the same, Fredrick. It's not the same, Ryan. The thing that I think that you have to separate is like, hey, listen, freedom of speech is great. Freedom to express yourself is great. Freedom to express yourself on the internet is great. But I'm almost of the opinion now that regulating hate speech is probably not a bad idea. Like regulating the really dark shit and preventing people from sharing some of the really hateful stuff. Because it's not just how it makes people feel when they read it. It's the co-opting of values of legitimate crazy people who have access to the internet, because you don't have to have a license to have a cell phone. You don't have to be emotionally or mentally aware or self-aware to have a Twitter account or to have access to 8kun. You literally just have to have a fucking email address. And how many of those, like, Christchurch, which sent a shock through everybody. I mean, that 8kun or 8chan, to me, for the longest time, same with 4chan, was like, it was known as, it's the place where mass murderers and serial killers post their live streams of the terrible fucking things that they do, including the radicalization process, which literally lives in those spaces and almost nowhere else, right? Like, there's smatterings of it. You can see it on social media. You can see it. It was like this living, breathing, cancerous tumor of shit hate that turned into what it is today. And from that, they've got these branches that have literally melted the minds of some of the people that we already knew whose minds are melted anyway, like the people that believed in Sky Daddy and religion and the craziness that goes with what it is that they've turned Q into. And they've used that to assert themselves over choice, right? Like the vaccine, the masking, and it all goes back to this incredible thing where it's like, hey, listen, if you're not part of it, like, where one goes, we all go. It's this community that they've been able to create that I have never seen this before in my life. Like, I have never seen a cult live, breathe, and literally start from live action role playing and turn into a prank. Like, that was one of the things that I got out of Into the Storm. I don't know if you got this too, Spenny. If you watch Q Into the Storm, what I got out of it is like, oh my God, the Watkins people and a couple of other cats who we don't know, obviously, as you pointed out, it could be Paul Ferber, could be Mike Flynn, who knows? I mean, fuck, it doesn't, no one knows, have literally captured the imagination of the dumbest people in this country and militarized them into doing some of the craziest shit. And like, we've never been here before in society, right? And we got one of the guys who made it responsible.
I just want to move to something else, which is I'm going to give you my theory, which I think I did the last time I was on your show, Dean, or when we spoke together. What drives the people that go for this stuff is what's interesting to me. And to the best of my knowledge, and I'm no genius at this stuff, it's a fear of color. It's a fear of a different kind of country. A fear of a demographic change in the country. I'm talking about, is that in your opinion, the underpinning of people that follow this stuff, which seems so crazy to Dean, myself, Ryan, probably you, Fred. What do they have in common? Am I wrong or right about saying?
You're not wrong at all. No, you're not wrong at all. That is where it starts for the majority of them. It is the fact that, as has been shown time and time again, people that are more conservative politically tend to have higher, disgust patterns in their brain. They look at something and they are more readily thinking like, that's disgusting. We need to stop that. We need to do something about that. Like, the children, it's that. And people are able to use that based on, race, disability, especially sexual orientation, sex acts, those kinds of things, even though nobody's being drugs, even though nobody's being hurt, it's just they have this high disgust that basically, so yes, you're correct in the broad academic sense that is where, if you really want to put a label on where all of this comes from.
Yeah, and by the way, I have to say this, that it runs counter to the classic conservative philosophy of, live and let live, less government kind of thing. It's like, with the abortion and all this stuff, it's crazy.
I think that what's dangerous and what's new, though, is that people online have discovered, trolls online have discovered, that they can use these people to basically make the changes they want to see and get a big laugh on their behalf. Because I know we haven't talked about this at all, but one of the things that I've been researching a lot lately is the fact that, the Bored Apes, those NFTs, they contain racist dog whistles all throughout. It was so obvious once it was finally shown to me. The logo of the Bored Ape Yacht Club is based on the Totenkopf. One of the apes is wearing a headband that was given to kamikaze pilots by Emperor Hirohito. I speak Japanese, so but that was also very racist. They named their company Yuga Labs after the idea of surfing the Kali Yuga, which is this alt-right, very highly racist meme, which also features the totem cop. So, trolls have discovered, hey, there are a lot of these racists out there, and they aren't very smart. And so, we can basically manipulate them into believing in really stupid shit, like Q, and then, get them to do our bidding. And I really think that's what caused January 6th. Honestly, yeah.
I think you're right, and I think a lot of it is the co-op. Like you say, you can co-opt a group like that are so easily manipulated, but then they just happen to bring all their shitty baggage with them into that movement, and they find that to be an easy price to pay. All right, we'll deal with the racists and the homophobes, and as long as our shit's getting done, we're making money and we're pushing our agenda. Who cares what they bring with them?
It's basically the ape situation, right?
Yeah.
They realized, hey, a lot of these people that are into crypto and NFTs are racist. So, either they decided to put all of that racist stuff there just to appeal to them, and, they knew that people wouldn't know outside of that community, and it would take a while for people that are against, NFTs like me to even look at it because we wouldn't want to boost it more. But, that is exactly what you're saying. And it's the same thing with this 8chan situation, because they know that the racists that are actually involved are so, they've been banned from everything, and there aren't many third-party experts that are looking into it. And by the time that we are, it's kind of too late, Yeah.
Yeah, it's already taken off, and how do you put that back in the bottle, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. That's the issue.
Well, you can't. Even watching what's happening with these January 6th hearings, it's funny because you talk to Fredrick and it all starts to come together, eh, Spenny? Whether it's crypto or whether why so many religious weirdos are into crypto and they got the laser eyes on their profile picture, and the Bored Ape Yacht Club is all over bios that belong to these people that have the laser eyes. Realize, identify, realize. It's literally a community of the dumbest people in the world that have gotten together that are so disenfranchised. And listen, that 8kun or 8chan was, as you pointed out, you developed it for the freedom of speech, and who flocks to things like that are people who are banned from speaking freely because they're literally fucking insane, right? They're bad people. So it's literally a magnet for terrible individuals who are banned from every other platform on the internet.
Yeah, and if you are, not necessarily very socially aware, or if you're autistic, which I am, then that doesn't necessarily compute to you. That is why these people are here. That it's not because you have made this site that is technically good. It is because they're just banned everywhere else, and they would be using even the most dog shit website. It has nothing to do with technical skill or anything. It's just that they have no other choice. So that those, you don't want them people as your customers.
No, I wouldn't think you would, which is why you're fighting against it. It's weird. Fred Brennan joins us. Fred, of course, the founder of 8chan. We're talking about Q and the origins of Q. Turns out it's the Watkins family and the Watkins family alone. Tell me a little bit about Jim and Ron and how you went from you looked at 8chan like it was open source, which you've said it was just this thing that you were doing. You didn't look at it as a business, and these guys come along. They're like, hey, they want to work with us. Tell us when that relationship went from we're doing good work, freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah. We're making some money. It's going to be a lot of fun. Amphetamines and coding and all the fun stuff. Where did that go wrong? And were these guys did they always have shitty intentions? Or did they just kind of stumble onto this phenomenon of Q and literally bastardize it for personal gain?
So I think they always had shitty intentions, obviously, because one of the things that I was able to reveal after the documentary, working with a journalist at Mother Jones, was the fact that in the early 2000s, when I was a kid, 6, 7, 8, there's no way I could have influenced this. Jim Watkins was already setting up a site called BDS Pink with the idea that it would attract people to post child pornography there. That used to be the thing that was not allowed. Now it's this political speech. So he's just on to the next grift, which isn't as, what's the word? It isn't as toxic to everyone as, CP is. And so he basically has always had this intent. It was just that all of his evil shit, really, back in 2014 when he got involved with 8chan, was behind that language barrier of Japanese, and I didn't speak it back then, not well at all, you know. And so he was able to kind of convince people in the West, because he's the only one who cares to translate it. He'll translate it in a biased way, and then he'll get everybody convinced that, okay, this dude owns 2channel. He obviously does, because he can change what's on there. He's posting on there. His name is on there, so he does own it. But you're not getting the other side of the story, which is that Hiroyuki Mishimura is suing him in the Tokyo District Court because he stole it, right? And yeah. So I guess things went bad on 2 occasions. The first occasion was when they got banned from Google search, because I was on them constantly about their, you know, problems with people uploading child porn. I was on them every day, every day. You have to hire an expert in machine learning. I am not an expert in machine learning. Every other social media site has a machine learning program that filters content. It has to be done. You have to do it. Otherwise, you will not be able to operate. And this is no longer under my legal control. So, like, you will be the one that is fucked. You know, I am just your employee. And I'm telling you this over and over. And he would just get mad. He would get frustrated because, you know, he considered the pedophiles his customers. And so he wouldn't do shit about it. Nothing. And finally, he got banned from Google search in late 2015. And then he decided to screw his business partner. And then I was just like, all right, these guys are not interested in the software, are not interested in free speech at all. They're interested in grifting and bringing in money. And they, to appease me, because I was ready to leave in 2016, they decided, all right, we will offer you this very cushy job. So they offered me basically technical lead of 2channel, which was their Japanese website that actually makes money. It's where all the money comes from. The website that I didn't know at the time they stole from Hiroyuki. But because I was working there and because I I put everything into my job, so I started learning Japanese. I started talking to the users there. I started seeing shit that was going against their narrative, you know, like the Tokyo District Court case. And eventually I had it translated, and this is when things really fell apart. I paid for the entire judgment from the Tokyo District Court to be translated so that I could confront them with it. And I did. And I said, you guys have been lying this entire time. Hiroyuki did pay his bills, even though he told everybody that he did not. He clearly did. The judge said so. Why would the judge say that, you know? And their argument to me at that time was just, well, Fred, you know, your job security is so good. You know, we stole it so good that you'll never get it back. Basically, that was their argument. And that's not an argument that works on me. You know, it's not an argument that works on me. And I was just not willing to work with them at all after that. Even though I did like my job, you know, as technical lead of 2channel, I did a lot of cool stuff there. But I wasn't willing to do it, knowing that they were basically colonialists. You know, I thought that Jim was joking one time when he got drunk and he said, "I'm Commodore Matthew Perry. I'm the new Commodore Matthew Perry," which is the guy that, you know, basically forced Japan to open up. Like, he was a colonialist. Yeah.
Wow.
Is Jim Watkins a pedophile?
Oh God, I mean, he could be, but I can't say that. I don't know. I know that he has allowed people to upload child porn on his websites for many years. I know that he views them as customers. I know that he sold a magazine in Japan which contained lolicon, which is drawn child pornography of little girls. I know that. I know that because I had the magazine sent to me so that I could verify it, and I sent it to that journalist, Mother Jones, which is like this feminist magazine. So, yes, I know that all that's true, but he's already tried to sue me for libel. He's threatening to kill me recently. He put a bounty on my head of $15,000. Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, I know that little.
Dude, yeah, you know all the secrets. I think that your life would be worth way more than $15,000. Like,
I know. I'm basically giving away $100,000 this year. So I joked that like if they were to actually come here, I would just be like, all right, so the bid's 15, I'll give you 30 to go away. Like,
maybe they set their prices by height. I don't know.
Maybe. We'll set them by weight though.
This is so fucking weird. Like it's a trip, right? Like if you know who Fred is, and if you've kind of tried to figure out the Q thing because you've got a family member, or you just find it as fantastically weird as Spenny and I do, and Ryan does, like all of these things, Spenny, come together, and all you have to do is ask questions. I'm amazed that people haven't been asking questions. Like, I'm amazed that we haven't been inundated with interviews by Fredrick and all kinds of people who are on the inside who are able to explain that legitimately this Q movement was co-opted by some really fucking terrible people, and it has been fanned and allowed to spread. But in the end, it's just a big fucking prank that got completely co-opted and way out of hand. Like it doesn't seem so scary. Like sitting here talking to Fred, we've seen different people get shot. Like, I don't know if you remember this was a few years ago. Do you remember the gangland shooting that happened in New York? And the guy, do you remember that dude? He put his hand up and he had a big Q on his thing. Like that was originally where I heard about Q, and I'm like, that's fucking weird. Never heard of it before.
Pizzagate, wasn't Pizzagate a Q thing as well?
Yeah,
that was like one of the things that was like kind of a predecessor to Q.
Yeah.
People believe in a lot of that stuff. That's why they believe in the pedo war thing that they say that basically.
Yeah, what's the deal with it? Because, dude, that's the thing. Like, I get called a pedo and a child sexualizer like every 5 minutes by people that believe in this shit, like the bots and the crazies and the troll farms that co-opted this messaging, which is huge, right? Like, that you've created a fucking weird movement when Vladimir Putin uses it as a way to invade a fucking country, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, that stuff all started with these leaks that Julian Assange, who was this, he used to run this website called WikiLeaks, and he used to pretend way back in the day that he is just a publisher of documents. And that's all good. Like, I believe in journalism, obviously. But he wasn't telling people that, but by the way, these aren't all coming from whistleblowers. This one comes from Russian intelligence, and that is where things started to go off the rails. Because the emails that he got from Hillary Clinton, and then who knows how those were doctored by Russian intelligence, by the way, who knows? But, okay, let's say they were not, even if they are all true, that when you email and chat, you put inside jokes in there. And there is not actually anything bad in the emails. It is just, butter emails, like, who gives a shit? The reason that stuff came out was just because Russian intelligence, that is what they wanted. If they had been against Donald Trump, then WikiLeaks would have posted bad shit about Trump. And that is why, I'm not necessarily a fan of Assange, even though I do believe in a lot of the core principles of journalism. I think that, what's more important is being a real whistleblower, like Edward Snowden, for example. Actually a whistleblower, actually someone trying to create positive things in the country, regardless of anything Snowden has done since then. His original intentions were pure, and he doesn't have the ability to, do anything else. So, as much as he might try to convince people he does, it's irrelevant. He doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Fuck,
that's wild.
What's your favorite Q thing? Like when because you've obviously been on the inside where you've gone, these guys, like, look at this. Like, have you? Because Pizzagate was a lot of fun. JFK Jr. coming alive again in Dealey Plaza made me laugh. People drinking their own urine's always a gas, right,
That's
Spen?
Like
I did that on Kenny. Yeah, I did that on Kenny versus Spenny, and it's not that bad.
I think I'll engage in laughing at them because I'm really sad for them that they've fallen for this lie. I feel bad every time I see that they are it destroys families, it destroys lives. People have committed murder over this. People have done terrorist offenses. Somebody blocked the Hoover Dam over it and unfurled a big flag because release the report, even though there was no report because Q told them that there wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Just like the Hillary thing, it's the headline only, the Hillary email thing. Oh, but the emails, like you said, it doesn't matter if there's any fact inside of that headline. People just care about that headline, right? And it feeds their own little misconceptions, their own little beliefs.
How about Hunter Biden? When I look at the pictures of Hunter Biden, I just think that this looks like a cool guy to party with. Like,
Have you guys seen some of the videos of it, by the way? Have you seen?
Yeah, I have. Because they send them to me and they're like, you know that you're in conspiracy with Hunter Biden and it's all coming out. And I'm like, if you can get me in touch with Hunter Biden, I want to party with him. And also, I think you're jealous of the size of his dick. And when they get,
That's huge. Have you seen the Hunter Biden videos at all, Spen?
Yeah, well, the latest one with the weighing of the crack. I don't know how everybody knows it's a prostitute, but he's with it.
The one where he's smoking meth. I mean, he looks like a fun guy.
I don't know, but I'm really missing Richard Nixon, which is the saddest thing of all.
Yeah,
Richard. Yeah.
No, dude, I watched because it was funny because I knew you were coming on today, and a few days ago the 4chan community leaked his iPhone iCloud pictures, videos of him weighing crack, smoking meth. What's that?
That might come from Russian intelligence as well. We don't know yet, but we do know a lot of the earlier leaks about Hunter came from Russian intelligence, and that's the problem. It's like I want to support journalism and I want to support whistleblowers. But they have to be people like Snowden or I forget her name, but you know the trans woman who worked inside the army and leaked a whole bunch of stuff.
Chelsea, what was her name again? Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that whistleblower from Facebook, like people like that.
Be American and not in contact with Russian intelligence or any intelligence agency. No Mossad, you just have to be somebody that's trying to do the good thing.
How are we ever going to get a handle on any of this? Is it possible, Fred, or have we literally the genie's out of the bottle and we've got to just sort of work around it somehow?
I mean, I don't think it's impossible to get a handle on this. I do think it can be done, but I'm very. Something we were talking about earlier that I'd like to bring back is the hate speech thing. When you've been around the world, you start to understand how weird the United States is when it comes to racism and hate speech, because this is literally the only country in the entire world where you can go out on the street and say it would be a good thing if all black people, where you can just go and say this. The Supreme Court says it's okay. You can just go in the street and say it would be a good thing if they were just all rounded up and put in concentration camps. This is the only country basically where you can do that. I've been to Singapore, where they have such strong hate speech laws that you can't even make a racist caricature of somebody. That can be racial hatred. India, same story. The politicians there are getting in trouble all the time because they are fomenting racial hatred. That's the crime. That's what it's called. Europe, Europe, the birthplace of the idea of free speech, liberté, égalité, fraternité, they came up with that. They have hate speech laws that are, they aren't as strong as the ones in Asia that I was just talking about, but there are still very hard lines that you cannot cross. And even though Charlie Hebdo might be allowed, you're not allowed to wish death upon huge portions of your country. But you can here. And that legal thing, either has led me over the years, especially with the way that our system is so set up against the poor and against the urban populations, to think that our Constitution is not fit for purpose, that it needs to be totally redone at a constitutional convention. And I don't know what the outcome of that would be, but I think if we were set up more like the EU with an army, that might be better in the long run, but I can't say. But I don't see that being discussed enough. It's just this constant panic and this constant show and this constant. I mean, think about the Supreme Court, for example. We're the only country that even gives a shit about the Supreme Court. In the Philippines, nobody knows who the Supreme Court justices are. I know because I've written Wikipedia articles about them, but nobody there knows. Unless you're like a lawyer, because you don't need to know, because the Supreme Court is not constantly overriding the legislature, overriding the presidency. It's a mess. We have basically Constitution 1.0 beta, and everybody else has ones that are much, better.
But how do you crush it? Do you see? Because I think it's a great question, Spenny. I want to go back to that time. Do you remember that time where you could go outside, have a conversation with someone, and not question whether or not the person who was your neighbor for a long time is indeed in a religious cult called QAnon? Do you remember that?
The sun won't give you cancer.
Yeah. Or when you talk to somebody and they're like, you don't really even know what's going on. You got to get another Q drop. You got to figure this stuff out.
The thing is, if you try to legislate this stuff, then you fall into the trap of your tyrannical
dictator.
And it's really a conundrum.
But I mean, I would just say that most Americans have not lived outside of this country for an extended period like I have. I lived in the Philippines 6 years, and that did not end because I got in, I fought with a local. No, it was another white asshole that, I would be living there, I actually speak the language, speak Tagalog. I learned it while I was there. I worked on a font for the language, which is now on Android phones. So, I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts. Can
I quote you on that last one?
It's nuts.
It's nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts.
It's about as succinct as it needs to be, I think.
Yeah.
But there's this churn, right? Like for some of these people, it's for you. Like there's a churn but it works the other way. Like Spenny's churn has been like, hey, freedom of speech, do what I want, say what I want, put an octopus on my head, dress in some weird shit, and act like a tool, do a bunch of drugs. It's a TV show, and then like freedom of speech was very important. Like the stuff that Spenny and you and Kenny were doing for years, you can't do that shit anymore. And we long for that time when you could, at least in my mind, where that freedom of like creative speech, freedom of content. Those things are good. We can't do that anymore. And that's fine. I get it. It can live in certain places. But what we're talking about is very different. We're talking about the freedom to legitimately spread hate and bullshit and lies so that you can manipulate a certain group of people, which is, I think, it's the exact same thing as marginalizing or going after different groups of people depending on their color and their culture, right? It's exactly the same thing.
Well, the easiest legal change that could be made is to just make it illegal to pretend to be a federal agent online. You can't do that anymore. It doesn't matter if you're making money from it. You just can't say, I am a secret federal agent in the military police, or I'm in the FBI. That should be illegal.
Isn't anonymous accounts a problem when you think about it?
Sure. I mean, the thing is, it's like our government doesn't do shit about it because there are so many technical ways to de-anonymize if you actually put the effort in. They have all of these powers. What was the Patriot Act even for? Right? What was it for? They took away all that freedom from people. They added all of these banking regulations. They gave us the Patriot Act. We have QAnon now. Things are so much worse. We might have a fascist in 2024. So,
What's your prediction, Fred?
I think
What's
it was
your prediction with American politics, at the midterms and the 2024?
Oh, my prediction?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that if Trump is not dead by that time, for some reason, he's old and like every picture you see of him, he doesn't look to be in better health. But if he's not dead at the time, I unfortunately don't have good news. I think he'll win. I think he'll win in 24. I hate to say it, and I hope it doesn't happen, but Biden is quite unpopular right now. People are tired of I don't have good news. And that's why I said I don't think our Constitution is fit for purpose anymore. Because the Electoral College helps people like Trump, but it's deeply undemocratic. It would not be allowed in any other country. Gerrymandering helps people like Trump. The Senate helps people like Trump. And I am not one of these people that is going to be like, but our democracy is the best, and you just don't get it, you ignorant people in cities. We have to have all this power. Those of us on the farms, those of us who do the real work.
How can they not? And my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, if he is convicted of some kind of felony, is it? He would not be able to run again? Is that right?
And all they would have had to do, like the Senate didn't even have the balls to make it so that he could not run again. They could have impeached him that second time. They could have done it. And so if he wins again, it is entirely on the back of the American broken.
What about all this other criminal stuff? I mean, he needs a fair trial. I'm all in favor of that.
But
financial crimes aren't these? It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, he had one. It was in the Senate. He had a fair trial, and all they would have had to do.
No, a criminal trial.
Sorry.
A criminal trial, not a.
I hope that happens too. I mean, but the only reason that we're talking about that is because the Senate fucked up years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, they refused to do their job. Like that was the big thing. Like the first 2 times he was impeached, right? Is that they refused to do the job of the fucking people, and they're not doing it again. And we're seeing that kind of play out.
Now we're freaking out trying to get criminal charges on him because we know that you'll win in 24. You see what I mean? Yeah, because they're going to do their job. Because they were afraid of the Trump supporters. Because the constitutional system is broken. Sorry.
Okay, so I have a question then. When it comes to that, like we've passed the buck a couple of times. We're United States, not we're Canadian, so it's not our problem. It's yours.
Oh, are you Canadian?
Yeah, we're all in Canada.
Yeah, we're all in Canada. So it's your problem.
Is that true?
Yeah. I'm in Toronto. Ryan's in Toronto. Spenny's just outside of Toronto. Yeah.
Well, obviously, your constitution's better. I've read it. So.
Yeah. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's called reasonable limitations, where it's like you can do whatever you want unless you're bothering somebody.
Even though
you can't do it.
The red ink on it.
Yeah.
With the red ink, because I'm a typographer, so I looked at that.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating, the difference in the two, right? Because freedom is the most important thing in the United States. Up here, it's like freedom is really, really important, but it is not a federally constituted or federally protected right. Is your freedom to completely be a total asshole. So let's get into Trump. Total asshole. Now, if he gets indicted, because that's the big talk, right? Merrick Garland, they were talking about it today in the thing, January 6th. Like, we watched everything yesterday. Spenny and I were texting back and forth a little bit about it yesterday. Like, it was very, very damning. You had Oath Keepers, you had, peacemakers, you had all the, the this guy and the Proud Boys. They had people who were reformed saying, yes, indeed, we were co-opted to go and do it. And then you heard yesterday that Trump was trying to do a little witness tampering, which is fascinating. If he gets indicted, is that one of the pins that you have to pull out of the House of Cards, or is that a card you got to pull out of the House of Cards for this whole Q thing to sort of get tamped down or tarped or pulled apart? Like, is that not? Because that was what I was thinking. I'm watching the whole thing yesterday, and I was reviewing it this morning, and I'm like, dude, if they just indict him. They've got the leverage to be able to have him literally stand there and say, hey, listen, I made it all up. I was co-opting the Q stuff. I really don't want to go to jail, like all that stuff. And I know he's going to ride this to the end. But isn't that the linchpin that kind of starts this House of Cards falling, is like indicting the man?
And that's a very smart place to bring it back to, because in the beginning what I was telling you, that the conspiracy theorists, they have different premises, but it's not like they don't think. They're fighting with each other all the time. There's so much infighting in these conspiracy groups, it's crazy. Be infighting about stuff that is so weird and so strange that you have to really understand a lot of their stuff to understand it. But once you do understand it, it's very clear what they're fighting about. That is one of the things, because one of the things that they believe is that there will be justice, and that all of the Democrats eventually, whenever it's going to be, and never, hopefully, unless these fascists actually do take power, but putting Trump actually under indictment, finding him guilty of a crime, that would, and hopefully, I know that he's a really powerful person, and people say that our laws apply to all, but, he needs to spend some time in jail. And I think that will hopefully ruin a lot of the Q stuff, because one thing that I found encouraging, to say the least, is that a lot of the Q people right now that realize that Watkins posted at the end of June are starting to understand that Q might not be good for the Republican Party. And that maybe, and I've heard this from a lot of Republicans I know, because I don't, it's not like I don't talk to any Republicans. I still have friends with all political beliefs, I just don't have friends that think that I should die, or that, insult me constantly. That's it. But they are really saying, man, wouldn't it be good if we had, DeSantis? Or wouldn't it be good if we had, who's that clown? Rubio. And I don't like those people, but they are not as bad as Trump. They are not, they're kind of like Mitt Romney, like an asshole that is going to make things worse, but he will not put the country into fascism. I see a question, does Fred think that Trump is broke? I have no clue. I don't know. I mean, I don't have personal insight into his finances, but I imagine that if he was broke, he would just go to some Russian banker and get a loan. So.
I think from an outsider perspective, one of the running theories of why he hasn't been actually charged or brought before court is because The Democrats don't have nuts in America, and that's true. And it's what they're afraid of is martyring him. And martyring him will take that base and explode it into a force where you're going to see January 6th on speed, no?
Can I say something? Sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. There's this reticence, it seems, that they have to be a guaranteed slam dunk.
But they never do anything.
Why? There's people in prison who didn't even do the crime. It's because he's rich.
Well, it's because they don't have 75. They don't have 75 million people that voted for them before they got pinched for their.
Well, that's the thing.
Weed charge, right?
Exactly. I mean, like you think about the people that are in jail. Is a good point, Spenny. You got people doing jail like 15 years for a dime bag. Like you've got people, and it is what it is. I mean, the disparity between who goes to jail and who does in the United States, it is indicative of how that country's run, which is incredible. But I think like going back to the original thing, which is Kenny. Spenny, that was your question, which was like, how do you put the genie back in the bottle? I don't think you do. I think you cut the head off the snake. You indict that guy because in Q world and in 8chan, 8 Coon land, they legitimately believe he's the chosen one, right?
Would you really martyr him to put him in jail for like a month or two? Because he'll get a slap on the wrist. Like, I don't think they would martyr him. He'd be back out in public in no time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, he deserves a fair trial. I mean, everybody deserves a fair trial, and a lot of people don't get that. But he's obviously deserves one. You look at all of the transgressions that the man has done. There has to be something, and even if you have to run the risk of making him a martyr.
I just remind people that the only reason we're in this situation is because the Senate didn't do their job. If they wouldn't risk it all, if they had just made it so that he could not run again, if they had indicted him, and if they had convicted him.
Well, it's appalling. The Republicans that aren't saying a thing that you hear, they say me privately how bad they think Trump is, but they won't say it public. I mean, that's criminal to me, but I guess it's not. But
one of your people in the chat has a great point. If any of us had done even 1/1000th of what Trump did, we'd be in jail for the rest of our lives. Yeah. For the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Same with the Watkins family. Like if you think about it, I've never met a greasier father-son duo. Can you imagine going on a father-son canoe trip with the Watkins?
He's sleeping with one eye open in that tent.
What's that, Fred? What'd you say?
I have to imagine. It wasn't a canoe trip, but I have been on a boat with them before.
Yeah. What's that like? What's a boat trip with the Watkins family like?
Not fun. There's nowhere to go,
When they have the indigenous people in the Philippines portaging, carrying the canoes for them,
Oh, God, yes. They are very racist like that. Jim Watkins used to wear a pit helmet. His photos are...
Jesus Christ.
That should be illegal in and of itself, wearing a pit helmet, and frankly.
Oh, he used to like the old German handlebar mustache? That was the thing they used to do?
Yeah. He used to photograph himself in a pit helmet with his mustache curled on purpose. Yeah. Like with the hair gel. I don't know how the fuck he did it, but you wanted people to look at him and see conquistador. You thought that would put fear into them.
Yeah.
Yeah. He used to say terrible things about Filipinos. I would often wonder why the fuck he lived in the country. But
yeah. Well, when you're on the run, I mean, the Philippines is a decent place to go.
Being such fucking just pieces of trash. Was there ever any credible threats against them from anybody? Did you ever hear about a credible threat against their lives or anything?
No, but I would also say that while they were in the Philippines, they knew how to work the system. Jim Watkins' wife, she's Lizelle Mandavia Audio Watkins. She is somebody that's connected there, and she would pay off people. Some do it. He would be handing out manila envelopes in Manila. He did it a lot. No
wonder he likes Trump.
Yes.
No shit.
Nobody knows how to work the system. Trump even admitted it. Do you remember what Trump said?
I remember.
Anybody knows how to cheat on taxes, it's me. It's just unbelievable.
That's technically illegal. It's illegal for any U.S. citizen to bribe a foreign government officer of any level. But it's just our government is just so. And this has led people to even wonder. Is he an asset of some kind and things have gone wrong? Because if he had those child pornography problems 20 years ago, right? I don't think it's so far out of the question to ask that question. It's speculation. You know, I can't say for sure that I know that he is some kind of asset of.
Well, dude, you're his admin. Like, you were the admin of 8. You created 8chan. You watch him. Like, you know what he looked at online, probably, right? You know the things that, you probably have access to his browser history, or at least a reasonable facsimile of it, right?
That's not true. I don't have access to his browser history.
Right. I just thought you might.
That's how it works.
We tried.
It's pretty smart. He hires a nerd. So this is something funny. He hires a nerd whose job it is to keep his computer working, like with OpenBSD, because he doesn't want to get hacked. It's very strange. But because he doesn't understand like the tech stuff, he hires a nerd to, install OpenBSD and get the file systems working. And whenever it breaks, get the printer working with OpenBSD. Yeah. I thank God that was not my job. Can you imagine trying to have a boomer who is just, your job is just tech support for this boomer 24/7 because nobody in Watkins' organization, that's their job.
How much money?
I can imagine that.
Yeah, we already have that. They're called our
Getting
in-laws.
on this fucking broadcast was like I needed 10 Freds just to figure it out.
How much money have they made from this Q bullshit, do you think, Fred?
Oh, God. I don't know what their books look like anymore, but it's got to be a lot. I mean, it's got to be a lot because they just grift so much off it. They've started a streaming service. They're selling merch. Like, I joke about their merch because I just find it so ridiculous. They sell these things called 8-coon honeypots because the joke is that they are a honeypot. But they are that little, informant, basically. And at their website, it's a honeypot. That's the joke. And so they try to say, oh, well, a honeypot, we'll sell honeypots to try to make a joke out of that. To me, it just makes them look more suspicious. So I joke on Twitter all the time that I have jizzed in every honeypot. That's
if I was their merch guy, I'd do a deal with Q-tips.
Q-tips?
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Cross promoting.
Jim doesn't have that kind of reach. He's just so off-putting to people. You saw the video of him.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah.
He's the creepiest fuck on the planet. Like, just the videos of him. Like, I'll play another video. This is a video of creepy fucking Jim. And I think this is him at the J6 rally. This is him literally, because he flew into town for it, right? Like, he flew to Washington when he found out that they were doing a rally and a Q was going to be seriously represented. He got all excited, and he flew in.
I wanted to ask you if you had the death threat one, because I could send it to either of you.
Yeah, send it to me now. We can actually throw it up. Just send it to info@deanblundell.com.
Okay.
Which is where you can send it. But I'll play you this clip. This is Jim Watkins at the J6 rally. Like, he flew back from Manila for it. This is how fucking off he is. Spenny, you've seen Into the Storm, right? So this is familiar to you. I don't know if you've seen this, Ryan. But this will give you a glimpse into how fucking awkwardly weird and, like, rectally nerdy this guy is. Watch this.
Going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. And we're going to the Capitol.
USA! USA! USA!
We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country.
So now we all march up the road? I guess so. He said he's going to lead us. This march wouldn't be happening right now if Q hadn't been there.
Started as a LARP and
it became real. It's real, It's American history now. It belongs in there. Hey! Nice to meet you too. This is like August 28, 1963, the dawn of a new era. Like when Martin Luther King had his march on Washington, and they didn't have as many people here as we have.
There you go. There's some sweet eyebrows, by the way.
He just makes my skin crawl. Like, he's such a creep.
Is he not? Like, that is the creepiest fucking guy. Like, it's almost like he's not even human. The way he speaks, the way he acts, how deliberate he talks, how he dresses, how he looks. He looks like he smells weird. Like, I don't know if he's got a hum to him, but he looks like he's got this terrible maldiferous odor. Like he smells like a cross between toe jam and leftovers.
I use Irish Spring soap.
I mean, I know what he smells like, and he does smell weird, So yeah, I've been around the guy. I know that that's true.
I can't believe what this has devolved into. How he smells from the. I was trying to
cat pee and mildew
at a high level of Philadelphia.
I know. I mean, the facts. It is a fact.
Well, I just, it is beyond me. Like, no, but when you look at him, you watch that video, and you watch Into the Storm, Spenny, and then you see that, and then you talk to Fred, and you realize how this guy has literally been a drifter his whole life, and look what he's done. Like, it's hard to believe that someone that seemingly incompetent.
I have to say something. I am of the belief that I am not as concerned with the January 6th riot, other than the death, which is horrible, right? I am more concerned with the leaders that I believe, although I can't prove it at this moment in time, that organized this. It's just unbelievable. The Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys, they're all complicit. I believe some of the leaders are complicit, perhaps Donald Trump. The focusing on the January 6th thing, I mean, most of them were fairly well behaved when you think about it. I mean,
yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think that all of the leaders have gotten off. They've all gotten off. Jim Watkins is not in jail, but yet they are arresting somebody just because they crossed the threshold of the Capitol, walked around a little bit, and then walked out. Basically they are just punishing the people that were tricked by Watkins and company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's getting punished.
So nobody is above the law, and
yeah.
You can be anything you want in America if you work hard. Like, it's just such bullshit. I'm sorry. I wish it were true. I really do. But it's just so demonstrably false. And
I sent your Ryan Wendley, who I think is
Ryan, do you want to do it? Do you want to full screen that YouTube video? This is Jim Watkins threatening to murder you. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
All right.
We should kill him. Why don't Ronnie? Yeah. Could we kill him? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna try and do that. Ryan, can you do that from your end?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just setting it up here so that we can do it.
All right.
I'm gonna mute myself.
All right. He's gonna mute himself. We're gonna check out this video. Where is this video from? Before we get to it, Fred, you sent this to us.
Hosting service, which he's been banned from everything, so he started his own hosting service because he's a millionaire. So he just paid for servers and stuff, and paid for freelancers to work on it for him. It's a pretty shitty hosting. Yeah.
All right. Here's the video. Let's watch it together. Nope. You got it? Jim tried to kill me on his live stream, saying it would only cost $15,000.
Oh.
No. Not working? Not coming through? Doesn't look like it is. Oh. No audio?
Yeah, there's no audio. We can't hear it.
This looks like it's a Twitter film when they show it at lectures.
Maybe just turn on your audio, Ryan? No? Is that right?
I don't know what happened there. It asked me if I wanted to do it, and it should be working. So I'll keep.
Yeah, not working. Anyway, fuck. Yeah, we'll put it in the description. But he is a smart guy, obviously. Again, amazing that he's still walking around, and it's amazing he's been able to create what he's been able to create. If he's literally threatening to murder you and saying it's only going to cost him $15,000 on a fucking live stream.
The FBI even contacted you about that. They were like, you know how coy federal agents can be, but they were kind of just like, it would work out well for you if you went to your local police and reported this. And it might not work out so well if you didn't. Like that kind of, you know what I mean? And so I went to my local police and reported it, and the people online were just like, God, like just being assholes. People are just assholes.
Assholes on the internet? No.
No. the internet. You know, like I've literally been threatened with murder, but they are thinking about, but what are the ethics of reporting that to the Atlantic City Police because it's like a poor police district? Dude, the FBI told me to. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Are you worried about your life a little bit? Like, you seem like a pretty happy-go-lucky dude, and you've been through a lot, obviously, dealing with what you've been dealing with your disability, and it's incredible that you treat it as such. But, like, are you worried, or are you like, fuck it, dude, I've seen the worst of the worst. This guy's useless. He's got nothing.
Here's the thing. If they were to actually kill me, it would not erase the technical proof that they posted as Q at the end of June 2022. It wouldn't solve their problem. It would just make me look more right. So that is why I don't necessarily worry that much, because I know that I'm right. And I know that if, Jim Watkins and his merry band of Q believers, if one of them was to go crazy and decide to kill me, it wouldn't change anything. It would just make things worse for them. And so that's why I don't think they'll really do it, even though,
What would you tell someone that really, truly still, like, is someone who's watched Q as a LARP, someone that knows that it's a joke, someone who has technical proof that it is nothing but a pig farmer and his kid literally trying to get rich off of, like, literal idiots on the internet? What do you tell the people that are like the Jamie Salets and the Theo Fleury's and the celebrities and the weirdos that are like, no, man, this is happening? Like if you could literally get them in a silo and in a moment of truth make sense to them, would you laugh at them? What would you say to these people at this point?
That's what I would say to them. I would say that the people that are your influencers, who are most often not Jim Watkins, the people that you are listening to, the people that you believe in, that are telling you that these are Q drops, this is real, the storm is happening. People like Praying Medic, asshole influencer, IET17, PayPay Lives Matter, all these asshole Q influencers because that's what really at the end of the day, with this council of grifters that decode so-called the Q drops and who they get it from. You should look into how those people are getting their information, because once you do, you will realize that they are just going on Jim's website and copying it and mixing in their own lives. And stop trusting these influencers. That's what I would say. That's what it comes down to. That's what I've noticed talking, when two people message me, I message back. I fight with them, and that's what I've realized, that they just trust certain influencers. And they just don't want to believe that their favorite influencer that they've given thousands of dollars to is lying. So.
And let's not forget that Trump is the most transparent grifter of them all.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he was on, I think it was David Letterman, and he started, they were rolling out the Trump wine, right? So they bring out a bottle, and he's huckstering for the wine, which is named.
I remember it.
And you remember what Dave said? Where do they make this wine? And he didn't know. He goes, Europe. I mean, come on. It's just, there must be something more to this. What do they call it when you watch a movie? Is the suspension of disbelief. It's just so obvious. It's just so fucking obvious.
Which is what makes it so unbelievable, right, Spenny? Like when you look at the people who've been affected by it and believe it, and you were sitting here talking with a guy who invented the platform with which it lives on, and he knows the people that are pulling everybody's leg, millions of them around the world, that grifting from them, and he's sitting here telling you, like, this is a joke. You guys don't follow these people anymore. It's fucking insane. You got to stop it. What's that?
That's why it's frustrating.
Yeah,
but they're not watching. The people that need to learn from this aren't watching this.
Yeah,
they probably won't watch Q Into the Storm.
And they get mad.
Most of them haven't.
No, but
they tell you to watch 2,000 Mules instead.
Yeah.
And they don't watch the January 6th hearing. It's unbelievable.
No. Or if you watch,
I saw a guy on CNN. They interviewed him. They were doing a thing how nobody's watching the January 6th hearing. In somewhere in America, and one guy says, "What do I need to watch it for?" Yeah, people broke into the Capitol building. I know, completely, neglecting the reality that they're trying to pin this on a president of the United States. I mean, that's the story. It's not the people when it's mind-boggling.
To maybe give you a bit of an American political perspective, I wasn't watching it. I was sent the clip, Jim Watkins in it. I didn't see that live. And the reason that I'm not watching it is not because I don't think it's important. It's because I don't think they'll do anything. I think that this is just a political, like a show. And that none of the people that
that's funny you say that, because that's exactly what the Trumpers say.
Yeah.
You're not, but you're saying it for a different reason. But you're saying
for a really different reason, yeah. I think that they just want to legitimize the fact that they only put the low-level people that would be easy to put to jail in jail. And that they do nothing, that they're not going to put Trump in jail, but they're not going to put any of the Watkinses. They're not going to put, General Flynn, which a lot of the shit he did was treason. He won't go to jail. None of the people that matter will go to jail. And so that's why I don't watch it personally.
So when you say, I don't know if it was Dean that said this earlier, that the Democrats have no nuts.
That's right.
Testicles. Okay. So
balls.
What is that? What is that about? I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I don't get it either, because they just lose. They have the ability to, right now, we keep losing. We lost because they didn't do the right thing in the Senate. We keep losing because they will not get rid of the filibuster, which is this absurd principle from like the 19th century, when people are riding around in top hats and owning slaves, like the filibuster, that you can just sit up there with a piss bag and talk for hours, like Ted Cruz does. But that's somehow part of our political system, an actual part of it.
I don't remember the piss bag in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Does anybody remember?
You couldn't see it. It was behind the podium. You couldn't see it.
They don't. They didn't. It was too graphic back then. They can't show piss bags back in the 60s.
We know for a fact that Ted Cruz literally wears diapers and uses like catheters and piss bags when he needs to stand up for 12 hours to filibuster. We know it. It's been. Look it up. It's true. It's ridiculous.
I didn't know that. Are you serious?
Yeah, they all do this. That's how ridiculous the filibuster is. If you want the most impressively funny thing to read about that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Or Google. I have Googled like a couple of YouTube filibuster things where I'm like, just show me a filibuster. And it's like the timestamps that they do where the hard cuts, it's like 4 hours later and the guy's reading a recipe. 6 hours later.
Green
the
eggs
guy's
and
like,
ham. I know.
You ever seen Ted Cruz reading green eggs and ham into the Senate record? Mm-hmm. That is a real thing that happened. I'm not good, Sam, I am. That is a part of our political system. And that's why I say our political system is so broken. I mean, the fact that all three of you are Canadian, you're so lucky, you're so blessed. Never get taken over by this country, please.
Oh, dude, we got it coming up here. There's a dude. Yeah, there's a guy up here in Canada that's like Ted Cruz light, and he's like legitimately the wiener of the incel brigade. He's like a Jordan Peterson disciple. He's the kind of guy that you want to take behind the woodshed, and only one guy comes back, and it ain't him. His name's Pierre Poilievre. Yeah, and he's a conservative. And so up in Canada, we've got conservatives and liberals. Liberals would be the Democrats, conservatives would be the GOP. And the conservatives in this country, the creep for fascism, hatred, religious disposition, despotism, the convoy, which I'm sure you saw and read about in the news, which is propped up by the same people and the same Custers and the same fuck jobs whose minds have been literally melted and taken over by insanity. It all comes from those same informative silos, right? One Facebook channel, one guy that you listen to.
I'm sure you guys got problems, but nobody died because of the trucker thing, and they were able to clear it up.
Yeah.
What happened in our country. People are still so fucked over what happened on January 6th. We're having like this, show trial that won't put any of the people in jail that actually need to be there. It might. I just don't have that kind of faith in on my own political system. But, yeah. I mean, for all the faults Canada has, at least, I don't know. As an American, I look at it as at least things aren't as bad there, even though there are legitimately a lot of structural issues. There are a lot of injustice, like in every country. It's not that bad. Yeah.
No, we got it pretty good. But my point is this: is that we're not immune. Like the creep has come up here, and there's so many Canadians that literally, I don't know, you could call them Spenny wannabe Americans, like those people that are like we have people up here that wear MAGA hats.
Who is that? Who is that asshole who was on Vice? Who was on Vice?
Gavin McInnes, Proud Boys founder. Yeah.
Yeah.
On Kenny versus Spenny, by the way.
Yeah. Spenny went for dinner with him. He's best friends with him. They're best friends.
Well, I I don't think that's still true. I could imagine.
No, it's true. They went for dinner. Like, it was fun. Spenny, you know Gavin McInnes, right? Like, you had him on Kenny versus Spenny before he became a alt-right racist Proud Boy terrorist.
He was more a friend of Kenny's than mine, but when we knew him, he was just the Vice. He was just got kicked off of Vice, and it was before he went. And apparently, he spent some time with. I don't know if this is 100% true, with David Duke of all people. But I went out to dinner with him, and he was talking a lot about the relative intelligence of the different races, which I thought was bizarre sort of dinner conversation.
Oh, sure, that's the same thing that the Watkinses talk about at dinner.
Yeah.
You know, Ron Watkins is married to a Chinese national, and his dinner conversation with me was often, "Hey, you know, my wife has been investing a lot in Africa lately, and you can't get these Africans to do anything. Like, you have to bring in, you know," and then you would use a racist word for Chinese people. You know what I mean? Like, that dinner conversation. Yeah.
So they know how to speak to the religious racists and the theocrats and the assholes in the United States because they are those people, right? The Watkins are those people.
But Juan might be hiding out in China right now. He hasn't appeared to any of his political things that he's supposed to be at. He missed July 4th. He missed everything. He hasn't been holding babies and shaking hands. He's just been posting pictures on Telegram of him in different hotel rooms.
Yeah.
One of them even with a packed suitcase.
At what point are we going to, as a society, sort of reject the fairy tale of religion? It could have some positive aspects. There's some moral philosophy in there. But at what point are we going to say that there is a lot more proof for evolution than there is for the Bible?
Creationism?
Creationism. It's amazing that at this day and age, they've just built this telescope, the Webb telescope, and we're still, a section of our society is still tethered to this stuff.
None of those people. You're talking about the James Webb telescope, the pictures that are just unbelievable, where you're looking at something that happened 13 billion years ago, like stars being born 13 billion. You're seeing it. You're like literally.
So we should be able to see the creation of the Earth that was only 5,000 years ago.
Do you really think that those people are going to look at those pictures? They're probably sitting there rocking in the corner, going, "The telescope doesn't exist. The telescope doesn't exist." They have
a. If you listen to the Bible people or the creationists, they have a theory that jives with science. I don't know exactly what it is. It has something to do with a time continuum. But apparently, they've just figured out it's a sales pitch, right? Like, okay, now we got this telescope. We're gonna have to shift the story a little bit.
I don't necessarily know that everybody will ever, I'm not an atheist, for example, but I don't necessarily know that everybody will just become atheist. But, I don't think that would necessarily make things better. I do believe that humans have an innate desire to believe in a God. I do believe that. I believe in God. But I definitely don't believe that the world was created 6,000 years ago. I do look at the Webb telescope picture.
So, but if I queried you on exactly what this God is that you believe in, would you answer it in any kind of specific way?
Hell no.
Okay, so it's faith. You have faith that there's a guy or a gal or I don't know.
Faith is one of those incredible words, and when you bug people about it, because I don't know if you know this, and I respect anybody that has any belief system that they keep to themselves.
Right.
Okay? Like, I really do. If you've got a belief system, it's like, I practice Stoicism, I love philosophy, I'm into common sense and self-empowerment and all those things. Ryan here is Mormon. I just made that up. Ryan's like me. He's agnostic. He's apolitical.
I don't believe that I know anything about the God I believe in. I think that the universe could just as easily be a simulation.
Oh, so you're agnostic. You're not atheist. You're not, and you just believe there might be a God.
How can you believe in something that you don't know what it is? I mean, that's the fundamental question.
Do mushrooms. That's what did it for me. Just do mushrooms enough times,
Okay, well, there you go.
Hey, little do you know, two things I want to get to this before we let you go. A couple of little known facts about Fred. Fred, is it true? And this is just a true or false. Just you can say true or false. Did you own a website or an image board called Wizard Chan for virgins? And did you have to give it up because you had sex? Yes or no?
That's true. I also wrote the 8-man
Very good.
while coming down from a mushroom trip. So
that was my question. Is it true? Did you invent 8chan/8kun now, but originally 8chan, smoked on mushrooms? Yes or no?
Yep. While I was coming down from a mushroom trip, I wrote the original 8chan source code.
Amazing. Good for you, man.
I've got one. Did you cut Jim Watkins' hair?
Did I cut his hair? No.
Spenny, I got one for you. Do you eat popcorn with a spoon?
100%.
I agree with this.
I don't bring a spoon to the movie theater. That would be a little insane. But I don't go to movies, so there you go.
I am a fan of yours, Spenny. If you've asked me a lot of questions, so if I could ask something.
Of course.
I want to know how your show came about and how you were even able to convince network executives to put that on the air.
Well, we're in Canada, first of all. So there's a lot of, at least then there was a lot of neglect that went in. It was a long story. Fred, we had a development deal with Will Smith, if you could believe it. Kenny versus Spenny was one of the 4 shows that we took out and pitched in the U.S. It was picked up by the USA Network, which was owned by Barry Diller. The executives were all over us, and they didn't understand what we were doing. So in the middle of the pilot, they pulled the plug. But we finished it, and then a year and a half later, it was picked up in Canada. So it's a long story. We're very lucky. I have to be honest with you. I've always felt, and I think Kenny does too, we were very lucky to just get that opportunity. I think we made the most of it, but it was an insane a bunch of things that did happen, and we ended up on Comedy Central for 1 year.
Yes, that's where I saw you. Yeah.
They didn't even promote it. I don't know how you saw it, to be perfectly
honest. I did. Yeah, that's where I saw it. Well, we had cable TV, so.
Did you? What's your favorite Kenny versus Spenny moment? Do you have one that comes to mind, Fred?
Oh God, there's so many funny ones. I don't know that I could necessarily just pick one.
It is hard.
That's too much, especially with him here.
My favorite. I mean,
the classic or the fart on the staircase, which actually was a queef, but we don't have to get right into it. It was a queef. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's the truth. He blew air up his ass. It's a queef. But it was still one of the greatest moments in the show's history, no question.
Dude, I go back to this one clip. We played it the last time you were on, Spenny, where you tried to keep an octopus on your head. You were smoked on acid and you shit yourself. It's still easily one of my favorite Kenny versus Spenny moments. And I've seen, I think, almost every episode of Kenny versus Spenny. And it was funny because we had a business meeting today with my partner, and I'm like, we're talking back and forth. And you know what he said to me? He's like, whatever you do, don't tell him I'm a major, major fan. And I grew up on Kenny versus Spenny. And I'm like, what's your favorite Kenny versus Spenny moment? Because it's a great fucking game to play. I don't know if, it's a piece of Canadian history.
I was going to say Canadian pastime.
I would have asked him to borrow money had I known that he was a good fan.
Yeah. But this is my favorite. I'm going to play this for you. Maybe this brings back some memories there, Fred.
Oh! Kenny, tell me what's going on, man. Tell me what's going on. I'm getting through it. I fucking was born, man! Holy shit! Oh my God, he's so fucked. Look at him. Oh my God, he's covered in shit. You're covered in shit. That's disgusting. You pooed. Wash it off. Kenny! I love you! Okay, no, don't film me. Seriously, it's too much.
What little credibility I've ever garnished in my life.
Dude, I don't. How many episodes did you shit yourself in? By the way, quite a few.
Two.
Two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually took a bowel movement in a diaper on camera. I can't even tell you how weird that is. I'm not even social. What?
Sorry, people in America talk a lot about British humor, but Canadian humor I've always preferred, especially Trailer Park Boys. That's the other one I really like.
Yeah, they're great. We were back to back on a channel called Showcase.
Showcase,
yeah. We were very broke, so my dad would not have paid for Showcase.
I'll tell you one thing that's really funny, which was I don't remember what it was, like the Aspen Comedy Festival or whatever, and Martin Short was hosting a thing on an evening on why Canadians are funny. And Eugene Levy came out, and Short asked him, "Why are Canadians funny?" And he pulled a newspaper out of his pocket and he read an article about Timbits, totally straight, and it was the funniest thing you've ever heard in your life. Canadians are funny, I must say.
Well, to try to bring it back to the Q stuff, why are Canadians funny? Because you can be, because your politics aren't as fucked up.
Yeah,
that's my answer.
But
I guess
they
so.
are. It
It's
is
relative.
spreadable. It's metastasized.
Yeah. But
We've got two registered former Trump advisors now advising here, including Roger Stone is advising the most alt-right party that we have.
Canada too? Are they going to fuck up Canada too? Is that
Trying to try?
Yeah. Well, we're going to stop them.
Well, thank you.
I'll just try to take the credit.
We're gonna do it together. Yeah, we're gonna do it together.
And it's been
why do they have pardons? Can anyone explain this to me? Like, I don't understand it. Like, why there's pardons? Like, why
they should get rid of that?
Yeah, that's another broken part of the American constitutional system. The absolute pardon powder. Yeah, I mean, we have so many of them. The greatest hits, the pardon power, the electoral college, the filibuster. You know, it's like all of this fucked up shit from the 19th century, 18th century that, you know, a bunch of these slave owners thought of in a room and that are now supposed to be gods, you know, because they've been painted in a nice way. I mean, really, they were getting drunk almost the entire time. Here's even the play 1776. That really underplays how fucked up the situation was. Like, it was the Continental Congress, you know, that wrote all of this shit is, you know, don't want to shit up the country's history, but at the same time, we have to change it. It just
I never expected the founder of HN to be so woke, man.
And what's woke? Is woke not a great thing to be? Like, they weaponize you for what? Caring about other people and understanding,
wanting the world around you to be a better place. Yeah,
you big fucking pussies,
good fucking person, you.
That's why I paid for this cartoon of me holding a communist flag. I paid this dude in Vietnam to draw it. It's very funny. That's why. Because it's like people always say that. Like, wow, I never expected you to be so woke. I'm expecting like the communist international anthem to start playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you play it up at this point. Listen, I want to thank both of you guys for being here. We've been a couple hours, and I know I want to let you go. And Spenny, it's always great to see you, brother. Thank you so much for being here. At Spenny, you can follow him on Twitter.
Thank you, Fred, for doing this. Awesome.
Yeah, it was so great
to see you.
Yeah, it was awesome and really great to meet you, Fred. If you want to follow Fred, you can. Fred Brennan. My bad, I missed the R.
No problem.
On Twitter at @FR_Brennan, BRENNAN. He follows me. As you can see, I follow him. There's his information on the Chiron. You can check it out. Fred's a really good dude, and he's a wealth of information, and he's a great conversationalist as well. And really appreciate you spending some time with us, Fred. How else can people, where would you send people? What else do you want people to interact with that you do?
I mostly post on Twitter. My website is dba.gg. That is actually my professional site. It's my portfolio. It's all.
I love that. It just D-bag.
Yep,
Great.
Yep. I won't tell the story, but there's a funny story behind it. But yeah. So that's it. You know, I post on Twitter a lot. I encourage, if anybody has the time, my pin tweet right now about how the apes have racist dog whistles in them. Please read it. Go over that. You know, it's true. I hope that, and a lot of the celebrities that are supporting it, they were made to sign NDAs. Like, they didn't actually buy those apes, so they were conned into it like everybody else. So kind of keep that in mind when you're reading it, that, like, celebrities, Spenny was just talking about borrowing money, often are broke. And if you give them an opportunity to get $100,000 to sell, like, this ape that they don't care about and is not really worth anything to them, they'll do it, not knowing that they signed into an NDA and are now giving their name to this, you know, scam project. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the Board 8 Yacht Club.
Because I understood about three things in that.
Maybe you understand more. That's it.
Yeah.
It's my pin tweet. That's all. That's all.
I'll check it out.
Yeah,
don't take the free money,
He's talking about
Spenny.
the Board
That's
8
what he's
Yacht
saying.
Club. He's talking about that NFT company, Board 8 Yacht Club.
You know, against my Jewishness completely. I don't know. I'm going to have a spiritual crisis.
Anyway, thanks, guys. Really appreciate both of you being here. Thanks, Fred. Thanks, Spenny. We'll talk to you guys soon. Really appreciate you being part of the show today, and hopefully we can have you back again.
Great to meet you, Fred.
Thank you.
Anytime. Talk to you soon. There's Fred. There's Spenny. Fred, of course, the originator, founder of 8chan. Spenny, of course, the originator and founder of Kenny versus Spenny with his friend Kenny Hotz. And those two became fast friends on Twitter because both of those gentlemen just had a conversation. And it was born from that docuseries, which we've been talking about, Linz, called Q
Into the Storm. Yeah. That was an interesting one, too.
When was the last time you saw it? Did you ever see it recently?
We just watched it maybe 3-4 weeks ago. We finished it because it was one of those ones that we just wanted to try and binge it, but it was just so we just don't want to ignore any of it because it was so compelling. The entire thing is compelling, and then to have more clarity afterwards now with Fred on, like holy shit, you know.
Yeah. You know what amazed me about that documentary at the end of it is you sat there in disbelief, or you're like, so this is a prank? Like this was people are still people are giving their lives for a prank?
Yeah.
Right? Like the Watkins, it should be called the Great Watkins Prank. Fuck you. This is live action role playing. That these guys were doing these like secret drops, pretending to be somebody, which they weren't, pretending to be a federal agent that was working with Donald Trump, that had the real goods and got, Trump's the chosen one, GOP is the chosen party. We're going to give you your colonial life back. Jesus Christ is going to come down from the sky and kill Joe Biden and all the pedophiles, and they're all going to go to jail, mass executions. And
all
none
the
of this
Kennedys
stuff
are coming
happened.
back.
Yeah, none of the we're going back to the Julian calendar. That was a new one. Love that one. There's like they're making pizza out of children in the bottom of pizza joints. Like the craziness, and it all came from the brain of two guys. And they did it because they wanted to create a grift, and they wanted people to feel like they were part of something. And they literally psyopsed the dumbest people in the world. And you just heard it from the guy who was there for the start of the whole thing. It's a joke, and people are ruining their lives over it. I have family that believes some of this shit.
The worst part is not only did people fall for it and they continued the grift, politicians, whole political parties put stock in their and threw everything behind it because they saw how successful it was to co-opt these people into believing this shit. So it's and you're right. How do you put that toothpaste back in the tube now? Even you could literally have the guy who we just had was the guy that made it come and tell you it's fake. They don't believe it. They're so far gone into it. And if anybody doesn't understand what Dean's talking about LARPs, it's live action role playing. So when you see those folks that dress up in like knights and shining armor and they go and have pretend sword battles in the park and the way they talk to each other. That's literally what these people are. That's who duped an entire fucking world of right-wing fanatics. Those people. The Dungeons and Dragons crew just fucked an entire fucking political system.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Isn't great?
Like you
can do anything in America.
and folks, like the ideologies that live in the Conservative Party come from this. Like Pierre Poilievre is literally using this as a springboard. Like he's one of these guys. Like he's like, fuck, this is going to be incredibly useful for us.
Yeah.
Going to take all these crazy people, get them under, all the cute people, get them under. Say, you want to be free to be able to believe all this shit, don't you? That's what he's saying. You want to be free to be a racist. You want to be free to be colonial. You want to be free to be misogynist. You want to be free to be racist. You want to reclaim that right of that we used to have as colonial white assholes, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago. And this is part of that. Like, if you can't see all that stuff kind of fit together in this nice, weird, fascist Fugazi puzzle, I almost said bukkake again. Again, that was the wrong word. Fugazi puzzle of influence peddling. You're crazy. Like we're watching it happen. And to have the guy, I go back to this all the time. And very special thanks to our friend Spenny. Follow him at Spenny on Twitter for setting that up. To have him on, the guy that invented the platform that Q lives on, the guy who watched it start, the guy who knows the algorithms, the guy who basically has the only person willing and with the authority to go, hey, by the way, I physically sat there and watched Q start from Jim Watkins fucking laptop. Don't know who was the original dude or who the other dude was, but this is Jim. This is him. He's grifting. He wants email addresses. He wants time on site. It's the same basic principles of social media, Facebook, etc. He's just doing it on 8chan. And the reason why he's doing it on 8chan is because he's a fucking piece of shit. He's just a loser, grifter, piece of shit who's managed to find a loophole, exploit the fuck out of the loophole, and take a whole bunch of mushy brain dummies with him.
Yep, and activate them, like you said, like an army of chuds, just an army of chuds doing the bidding of a weirdo, suspected pedophile in Manila. Good for you guys.
Yeah,
very strong,
nice?
very, very, very patriotic, very American patriot, like very, very patriotic.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You know what I mean? Like,
really appreciate that.
Just unbelievable, and how deep it's gotten. And I don't know. I'm just glad to have met Fred, and I'm glad to have gotten that a little more inside, even though we got a lot of information from Into the Storm, from the HBO doc, but to actually talk to him and have him break it down without the edits and the cuts and having that nuance of the conversation, it made a lot more sense. And I urge anybody that's watching that hasn't seen that documentary, go watch it now, because it's huge. Like, it's literally what we're going through. We're all going through this. It's not just an American problem. It's creeping up here. And if you're a woman, and you're a woman you see what's going on in society right now, and you're a woman that supports this ideology, you're a fucking idiot. Like, it's literally, you're voting idiot against yourself. You're you're attacking yourself by supporting this shit.
Yeah.
And that might just because of the brainwashing, but seek help. Like, fucking seek help. Put a hand up.
Meds.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, meds. Don't be ashamed. There's no shame in mental health, folks. And sometimes we get a little fucking deep into our beliefs. And, if at any point you see a glimmer of light from, 5 years ago when you were normal, and you remember that guy or girl, maybe reflect on that a minute. And listen to guys like this that were on the inside that are able to tell you, we were fucking with you. We fucked with you. That's all we did. We fucked with you. And here we are.
He can't give it up, too. That's the thing, right? Like, the problem is that he's not going to be able to give it up. The Watkins brothers family, they're not going to give it up because it's like literally their only relevance. Too. It's like they've been looking for fucking some kind of relevance their entire life, and they finally, for some reason, lucked into it because they were like, hey, let's go occupy a space that literally no human being on this planet would occupy with any brain or gray matter or any sense of social responsibility. And so, they give these people, and again, we go back to it, and Fred said it in the thing. He's like, listen, this is a website that literally would take anybody. It didn't matter where you were banned from. And these were all people who were legitimately not trusted to use the internet by any platform on this planet. So it stands to reason that the cesspool with which 8chan or 8kun now, which they had to change over from 8chan, but 8kun now, it stands to reason that that's something that governments around the world and Cloudflare and other companies should go, hey, you know what, that probably shouldn't be up. And this guy probably shouldn't be allowed to run an internet site. And we should probably look into how much money he's made off of suffering from people telling people these lies, right? Like, that's how I would think that the internet world should work. That's how I think government should work. And it's funny because, Bill C-11, which is this bill that Trudeau's trying to jam through, which basically says user-generated content. So anything that we do, anybody else do, is subject to regulation. They could just take it off the internet anytime they fucking want. Yep. And it's a flawed bill. Lots of it is good, but the really shitty parts are, Karen can have her wedding pictures literally taken offline if someone complains without any recourse. Like, that's how fucked this bill is. However, the people who are barking about it the most and misrepresenting what it is are people in Canada's Conservative Party who are legitimate evangelical fucking freaks who want the ability to lie, right? Yeah. Or people in the Conservative Party who maybe don't have a religious leaning but are just terrible fucking people like the rest of the folks on 8chan and 8kun, and they want that ability to continue to keep those bullshit fences out as far as they can so they can play in this playground of chaos. Like, that's how I see it being fomented here, not just the lies, but the bullshit when it comes to, taking advantage of mushy brain religious people who happen to all be conservative.
And isn't it funny that the country that houses the generator, I guess, or the engine of the misinformation, not Russia, but the one below us, now all of a sudden has a problem and wants to make an international trade issue out of C11 with our country because they don't want any part of it, and not even just the content. They just want no part of it because that means you're moving in on their grift. I read Geist's
That's why they're so
today.
pissed. That's why they're so pissed that Trump
so
started
mad.
Truth Social. They're like, whoa, you're splitting up Q. We were Q. Now you're taking all the Qsters over to Trump Social. By the way, Trump Social has just been indicted. Like a bunch of guys that are coming up, like the whole thing, the FBI's all over like the illegality and money washing and laundering. Like it's all going to happen. So who knows? But, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sad. No, it's okay. That's sad.
It's a crying shame.
Sad news.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure we'll get into Michael Geist's story at some point because C11 is back in the news again. I'm sure we're going to talk about that at some point this week. We don't have to drag it out today, but I agree with you.
I don't want to drag it out today.
No, I know it's already past
drag
bedtime.
Bedtime
drag. No.
I'm just sitting here going through Twitter on the podcast. By the way, just want to let you know I'm doing this on the podcast and looking at how the Leafs have done not only nothing today. They got significantly worse in net.
It's so weird that they did that.
And it's costing them more. Matt Murray and Samsonov, Ilya Samsonov. Yeah. But 4.7, 1.8, you're looking at $6 million, $6.5 million.
Holy shit.
$6 million for two goaltenders. But no, it just, if you're a Leaf fan, do yourself a
That'll
favor.
fix it.
Stay off Twitter.
Yeah, Leafs Twitter right now is a cesspool. It's a garbage dump.
Stay off Twitter.
Same with Jays. Did you see the Jays today? Big
they
announcement.
fired Charlie Montoya.
Montoya's gone.
Yeah, but good. He needed to go. He's too nice. He's way too nice.
He was the hugger. He was the big
nice guy.
Yeah, of
he
course.
Speaks Spanish and all that stuff, and all the players liked him. And there's
his
a bunch
resume.
of Spanish-speaking dudes on the team, and there's and I think at one point Charlie and Ross are like, yeah, maybe he's not a great coach.
Yeah, he's a good friend.
Yeah, great guy.
Has a great paella recipe, but
he's gonna be fine. He's gonna be just fine. Anyway, good for him. Good for the Jays. Good for us.
I wish him luck and success in the future because he does seem like a really nice dude.
Yeah, nice guy. I don't really care about what he does in the future, though. I'm just glad he's gone.
Jay's management and coaching has taken a real beating over the last month. That's all.
They should.
No, and some of it was out of the
right
control. So
injuries.
Yeah,
starting pitching sucked.
Personal tragedies of base coaches, and it's been a whirlwind for the Jays, and I think that's really translating on the field. To tell you the truth.
Anyway, all the best.
We'll see.
Thanks for doing this.
Good to see you, man.
To you soon. All right, man. Ryan Lindley, Sheeple Shepherd Podcast, where you can find him at Ryan Lindley on Twitter, Instagram. Thanks all. That's it for us. Have a great day. Thanks to Fred. Thanks to Spenny. Thanks everybody for being here. Sorry if you got sucked into the Q business, but you should have been smarter about it, right? We knew. We've been telling you. You don't listen at all. It's a LARP. Basically, you got sucked into the religious furries movement. Seriously. Like, if you believe in that stuff, you get sucked into the religious furries movement. That's it. Have a great day, everybody. Appreciate you being here. Don't forget, always brought to you by our friends over at Easy Auto Financial. If you need financing for your vehicle, what you need to do is go to Easy Auto Financial. They don't charge you a dime for their financing, and they're really good at their jobs. No obligation either. Great people. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. If you're looking for a car, credit's not great. Credit is great. These guys take care of everything and get you the best financing that you could possibly find. So use them today, easyautofinancial.ca. Kivlaw, my boy Rob Kivlikin. Ladies and gentlemen, He is one of the finest individuals I've ever met. And I'll tell you something, the legal profession, not full of great people. Rob's one of the best people you'll ever meet. He owns a legal company. It's called kivlaw.ca. Here's what you do. Are you in trouble with the law? Have you had issues in the past? Are you looking to clear your name? Did you just get into trouble and do you need some help navigating the legal system or your legal issues? Go to Rob. Robert@kivlaw.ca. Send him an email. Say, hey, Dean told me that you're the guy that was going to help me negotiate this issue that I have in my life. It doesn't matter what the legal issue is. He's a criminal defense attorney. He's got a team of them at kivlaw.ca. Do not give up access to your freedom. Use my friend Rob at kivlaw.ca. Check them out today. And last but not least, Ed at Ed's Fine Imports. His Gitch, we wear them, so can you. Go to edsfineimports.com. Use promo code Gitch, then the number 3. That is a free pair of underwear to you when you buy 3 or more. Boxer briefs, pouch in the front. Ed's Fine Imports, massive online store as well, and Canadian-made underwear. Like Canadian-made luxury underpants, pouch in the front, boxer briefs. I can't stress enough how incredible these underwear are. My entire family wears them, with the exception of the females because they're male underwear. But I'm sure women can wear them as well. I'm not picky. He's not picky. As long as you buy them. And if you want a free pair, go to edsfineimports.com. Gitch3 is your promo code. Check them out today. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow on this very program. I cannot remember who we have on the show tomorrow, so I'd be lying if I said, hey, guess what? We've got a surprise. It's been a long day. I didn't count on this going 2.5 hours. No idea. So I'm just being truthful, putting it on Front Street. But we'll see you tomorrow, 4 o'clock, right here. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Dean Blundell Show on YouTube, Dean Blundell TV on Twitch, and you can get us wherever you get your audio podcasts as well. Everywhere. You can hit subscribe. We'd appreciate that, too. Leave a nice review. That's kind of nice for us, too. Big help. Well, not really help. I don't really care. It's just what they tell me to say. Please leave a nice review. Rate and review. I think that's what they told me to say. I have a hard time saying those things, but if you want to do it, great. I'd appreciate it. And don't forget, if you want to buy us a coffee, you can do that too. If you go to coffee.com, ko-fi.com, you too can make a big difference in what we do. Coffee.com/Dean Blundell, ko-fi/Dean Blundell. You can make a donation, buy us a coffee. Vitally important that we bring you independent media in conversations like this. We don't want to put up any paywalls. We don't want to do any subscriptions. We don't want to do tiered subscriptions. We want to make this as free and easy for you to access so you can be informed, have fun, be entertained while you do it. So if you could do us a favor, go to coffee.com. Again, ko-fi.com/Dean Blundell, coffee.com. And donate. You can help us grow. You can help us support other independent media folks and content providers that want to do the same, entertain, bring you conversations you can't have in traditional media spaces. It's what we do and what we love to do. So we appreciate all being here. Thanks so much. Have a great day. We will see you tomorrow. Bye.